This is such a bizarre opening scene. A jar of science dummy heads explodes and the heads go flying in all directions during a science class. The narrator goes on to start introducing characters that will shape the rest of this roller coaster. First is Xin Yi, a guy who loves to sing and prefers women older than he is. Next up is Huang Qi, who has never been cut off to be a doctor and failed his first anatomy class. Then we see Hu Pu, who's from a small village near Beijing, who takes his studies seriously and is quite ambitious. The accident with the glass jar is caused by Hu Pu during an exam. He keeps mindlessly kicking at the jar, while tranced by his crush on Wei Yan. Wei Yan is irritated by the thudding sound and raises her hand to complain to their professor. Hu Pu glimpses her side boobs and reflex makes him kick the jar hard, causing it to shatter. The professor rallies the students to clean up quickly so they can return to their exams. He allocates an extra 20 minutes for the paper. In the midst of the chaos, the narrator steals a question paper and stealthily passes it to someone who gives it to a young child waiting outside the window. To think Professor Bai is warning them about cheating, promising they can't fool him, and yet the young child has made it past the block with the paper. He delivers it to Huan and Bai Lu to quickly start working on the answers. Huan is Huang Qi's girlfriend, and Bai Lu is the narrator's girl. The narrator introduces himself as Kui Shui, a medical student and a martial arts novelist on the side. He disclaims that all his works are quite unoriginal. The four mentioned characters are all buddies and roommates in a whirlwind of noisy antics and chaotic fun. Shui had mentioned earlier to Xin Yi that his style of writing is erotic. He's always seeking to find eroticism in other aspects of life too, including music. Folklore songs without lyrics do it for him, and a particular symphony titled Pathétique is meaningful to him because it reminds him of his first love. Shui goes to check if he's gotten an international call from his sister. Grandpa Hu mans the booth and is a womanizer who encourages Shui to keep up the good work with his martial arts novels. Shui tells the audience about his girlfriend, Lu. She's a Virgo in every sense because she loves order and control, even when it comes to her relationship with Shui. She domineers and prefers when Shui comes clean with where he's been and with whom. Shui plans to meet up with his sister and her new foreign boyfriend, so Lu states she'll tag along. Shui owns a Polaroid that was a gift from his sister. The point of it was to help him charm the ladies, but Lu makes him use it like a GPS. He's currently headed to Jianwei Street. He gets there and enters a hotel looking for a Dick Jones. The receptionist relays that Dick Jones is currently not in. Shui waits for him in the lounge, where he's offered the view of an ethereal-looking woman with milky skin and scarlet-painted lips. She exudes confidence, leisurely smoking, and not breaking composure even when she's approached by a douchebag she eventually tells to piss off. She peels herself away from the rude man's presence, walking over to Shui to ask if she can sit with him instead. Shui is curious about why she left her original seat, so she explains the man had alluded her to being a sex worker. Shui expresses irritation, and the woman voices that she's no stranger to such an approach. Places like this are known to have women lounged about, displayed like trophies to be won. A waiter comes asking if they need any service, so the woman orders 2 cappuccinos. Over their cup of coffee, they discuss more. Shui tells her he's a medical student, reading her reaction to mean she thinks he's too old to be a student. Not his fault the course spans for 8 years, meaning he'll be older than most graduates. The woman is intrigued to learn he's into medicine as she believes it's a hard course. Shui advises her to quit smoking, offering to take her to a lab and show her the damage it's doing to her lungs. She doesn't mind and he asks for her address. Not so fast, Shui. The douchebag from earlier approaches them. Turns out he's Dick Jones, his sister's boyfriend. Shui asks the woman to take a picture of him and Dick. Afterward, Shui gets to work, making sure his conversation with Dick leads to him taking a hike. Shui is having an argument with a vendor trying to sell him books when the woman from the lounge calls out to him from below the bridge. She offers to give him a ride. In the car, she wants to know how his conversation with Dick went. Shui affirms that Dick will stay away. It's not a matter of getting in the way of his sister's happiness. He was bad news, and he knows his sister would have done the same for him. The woman, Liu Qing, had also been waiting for someone, but they didn't show up. Class resumes and Professor Bai lectures the students about taking the course seriously, as real patients with real issues will be in their care after graduation. Shui gets a call at Grandpa Hu's. It's Xiao Man wanting to see him. He reminds her she's getting married to her departmental officer and should really take that seriously, because he's a good man who can provide for her. Xiao pleads with him, but it only angers him, and he ends the call on her. As he starts to walk away, he recalls his last summer with Man. He remembers her like an intense fantasy. He dwelt on it long enough to realize that it wasn't real. The 4 musketeers are out for drinks and some food. Drunk Shui sees Qing, who introduces him as her brother to her boyfriend, who is a government official. His name is Ma Jifei, and he's surprised to know Shui exists because Qing has never mentioned him. She defends that he's never asked. Shui and the guys are very drunk and extra chaotic. They find a car in an alley and pee on it. The car happens to be occupied by two lovers who have now been rudely interrupted. The next day, Shui is sick, and Lu dotes over him. She's upset that he didn't know better about visiting small restaurants because now he has food poisoning. She gives him something to drink, and he points out that she controls every aspect of his life. She mentions that she hopes he becomes a successful doctor so he can quit writing. Then she voices her doubts about how much he loves her. He doesn't give a direct reply and just holds her. It leads to intense sex, both panting and sweating afterward. They should, however, consider bolting their door next time because they scramble to put themselves together when they hear the knob turn. It's Grandpa Hu, and he's brought Shui some porridge. Qing comes looking for him at the campus as she's had a fallout with her boyfriend. He was drunk and forced himself on her without protection. Now she's come panicking because she thinks she's pregnant. The pregnancy wouldn't be a big deal if he didn't break it to her that he's already married with a kid. She's been dating him for about a year and never figured it out. Shui tries to bring her back to reality. It's only been a day since the incident, and she can't possibly be pregnant according to science. She believes her instincts over science and continues to rant about her misfortune. She's now of the opinion that all men are out to ruin her life. Shui smells because Hupu had peed on him earlier, and Qing helps him wash off with a hose. She breaks down crying in the process, and Shui does his best to pick her up. They go to the clinic and he hands her emergency contraceptives. She's to take the second pill in 12 hours, and Shui hammers that she can't forget. She admits that her emotions are in high drive. She can't really explain why she sorts out Shui with her problems. Shui excuses himself to get medicine for his upset stomach. He runs into Lu, who demands to know why he's there. He responds he needs some medication, and she reveals that she might be pregnant. A dazed Shui blurts out he's having a 2-for-1 special, and Lu drags him out of the pharmacy, wanting to know what he's talking about. He waves it off, promising he's just saying nonsense, but Lu is barely convinced. She decides not to dwell on it because she still needs to find out if she's actually pregnant. She's late on her period, and it's all Shui's fault for not having protection during their last session. All Shui can think of is how much of a coincidence. To solve the problem, Lu engages in extreme exercise to force her uterus walls to give in. Shui has to accompany her on every endless jog through the school campus. They really should have just used protection. Shui and Qing go see a fantasy romance in the cinema. Afterwards, she entertains him in her house. She gives him a drink and asks him to tell her about himself, wanting to know if he has a girlfriend. He starts off with his first and early romance with Xiao Man. It took him 3 years to confess his feelings to her. The romance that followed would last only a summer. Pathétique was her favorite symphony, and they would listen to it together. At the end of the summer, they got admission into college. Man would have to leave town, but she left the Pathétique cassette with Shui. It was a young officer that drove her to her new school, and now she's getting married to him. Qing broke up with the married man. She opens up about her parents' divorce, and how she hopes to never end up with a man like her father. Finding love has been very difficult for her. Good news. Lu got her period, but Shui doesn't share her excitement. He voices that she's put him through torture with the exercises, all for a false alarm. He feels she should have known better as a medical student. Lu gets upset with him and empties a bag of condoms over his head. It's a crazy way to tell him to have protection on him next time. The students under Professor Bai's supervision are to dissect a corpse. Hao confirms the corpse he's been assigned to is his neighbor's. It's a surreal feeling, and he decides Shui should pull out his Polaroid and take a picture of him and the neighbor's corpse. Qing gets acquainted with Shui's roommates and friends. She drives them so they can go bungee jumping. Qing asks if they all plan to become doctors, and Shui relays that Xin Yi is the most serious among them. He's trying to do his best too, but Qing wonders if he might have more passion for writing. He maintains that he only writes as a hustle. Qing would like to read one of his books, but Shui would prefer she never did. It's their turn to bungee jump, and they plan to do it together. They hold on to each other and leap, screaming in both delight and fear. They all gather for lunch after the adventure. Qing mingles well with all of them, and it's easy to forget that she's several years older. Huangqi brings Huan along, and she mentions that Lu should tag along next time. Shui half-heartedly agrees. Shui takes pictures and shows them to Lu. She's sad that she didn't get to go because she had exams. Shui and Qing continue to hang out, and Lu receives a photograph that could send all hell loose. One day, Shui finds Hu spying on Professor Bai and Wei Yan. Yan has a crush on the professor, and they're celebrating her birthday. She keeps turning off the lights, signifying her readiness for her crush to blossom into more. Ho can't contain himself watching them and is ready to confront the pair. Shui tries to tame him, but Ho manages to throw a stone, breaking the professor's house window. The boys take off running before they can get caught. The next day in class, Hu stares daggers at the professor. Still unable to contain himself, he approaches the man about a part of the body in the brain that studies believe controls sexual impulses. Hu keeps hammering that the professor has it and could do better at controlling his sexual impulses. Now the professor knows it was Hao who broke his window. Hao is ready to pick a fight, and Shui tries to stop his friend from possibly getting 10 years of detention. It's Yen who corners him, wanting to know if he actually broke the professor's window. He gives her a flower and wishes her a happy birthday with the popular song. A stunned Yen walks away midway through his well-wishing. Shui helps Qing hold a ladder so she can hang a banner. They seem to be at the mall and she's in uniform, depicting she's working. As she descends the steps, a man rushes over to hold her in an inappropriate way, excusing that she looks like a delicate thing that could have tripped. His name is Mao, and he's Qing's business partner. Ho pops out from nowhere and recognizes Mao as a former student who dropped out of medicine school to become a business tycoon, still in the medical field. Ho has met an idol, and he wants a picture, but Shui claims he's not with his camera. Shui seems off, and Qing tells him to keep his cool. She wants him to do her a favor, and in return, she'll make dinner for him. At Qing's apartment, Qing goes about that promised dinner while striking conversation with Shui. She's read some of his works and is impressed. Over their meal and a glass of wine, Qing relays that she'll need him to translate some tapes on some medical articles. She needs someone who both knows English and medical terminologies. The offer is 1,000 RMB for 1,000 words, and Shui gleefully takes the offer. Their dinner is interrupted by Lu's sudden presence. She invites herself in and helps herself to dinner. Her goal is to remind Shui he's taken and assert her ownership over him to Qing. She's spiteful all the way, and Shui is embarrassed by it. Qing clarifies that she's just given Shui a job and Lu shouldn't go thinking it's some illicit affair. Lu asks Qing to drive her and Shui home. Lu makes fun of Qing's cooking and then tries to forcefully make out with Shui. Shui pushes her off, but she tries again. When she sees he won't give in, she tells Qing to pull over. An exasperated Shui asks Qing to do the same. Shui and Lu get out, and Lu is livid. She slaps him, accusing him of cheating, but he's in no mood for her melodrama as he hasn't done anything wrong. She brings up a photo on the camera that one of the guys took of Shui and Qing Bungee jumping together. This is where her anger spews from. Does this lead to a breakup? It does. Their toxicity hits the ceiling and Shui breaks the camera. He monologues that he's overreacted, but he knows it's because he's trying to avoid the truth about something. They scream at each other and the night concludes with Lu ending things between them. Apparently, Shui smokes and does a lot of smoking in the aftermath of his breakup. Shui gets a call from Man asking if there's still room for her to be a part of his life. He yells at her to quit being delusional. Shui shows up to Qing's workplace with the translations. Qing comments that it's come just in time for their impending project. He apologizes for the previous night, stating his intentions that night was only work-related. He feels like a jerk and doesn't know if he handled the situation well. So Qing advises him to stay true to his heart because what he feels there is the only thing that matters. Qing has somewhere to show her. They sneak into the school's lab, and Shui shows her different remains of people that are now in cases for study and experimental purposes. His take is that once upon a time, the remains were fleshed-out human beings that could love and dream and live just like they're doing right now. He mentions his plans to donate his body for studies once he's gone. Qing shares the same sentiments. They end up in a bar and goof around. Shui mixes up drinks like he's a lab technician for her to try. They become dazed, free, and gravitate towards each other's arms in a heated kiss. They're both drunk, and Shui can't fully give himself to her because he still has Officer Ma on his mind. He wants to know what Qing thinks of him even now, and she can't understand why he's bringing him up. Shui insists, and Qing gives in. She reveals her pregnancy scare might have been caused by someone outside Ma. She's not so sure. She's just trying to live her life, and Shui comments that she's no better than a hooker. He keeps chanting it, and she gets riled. She keeps hitting him, then finally admits to being one. Shui laughs in relief, and Qing wants to show him just how much of a hooker she really is. He fights her off, and she storms off still screaming. When she's gone, he admits to himself that he's fallen in love with her, but her lifestyle interferes. He knows his low self-esteem has also caused a rift, and the whole ordeal is something too far-fetched for him to truly have. That same night, Shui returns to the dorm and finds that Lu has moved on with someone new. She comes in on his bicycle from seeing a movie with the new guy and notices Shui. She waits for him to start walking away before gazing at his retreating back. Lu agrees to see her ex in the garden. She tells him her new guy is a graduate student who studies at a different university and is a computer major. Shui asks if Lu is trying to spite him because of Liu Qing. She coldly responds that she has no idea who he's referring to, and she has moved on. He too has moved on from Qing, attributing what they had to a fling. Lu doesn't care for this detail, and advises him to come to terms with their breakup in a healthy way. She still cares for him, and it shows in her lectures that he eats well, and stays away from mindless drinking. He's got a weak stomach, and is generally a weak person in her book, so he can't afford to go off the rails. Ultimately, she left him because she loved him. Loved is in the past tense because now she easily walks away from him without looking back. Shui wakes from a bad dream and joins his pals for some late-night drinks and food. They tell him that breaking up with Lu isn't a bad thing because she's like Monkey King. No idea what that means, but if it alludes to her being toxic, then yup. He muses he's been friends with the gang for 8 years, then decides to give a motivational speech on how they should focus on their studies and become the best practitioners. Women are only a distraction. Another man stole Lu from him and he asserts that the dude did him a huge favor. They all cheer and drink to that, well intoxicated and destructive as the night proceeds. Lu's man drops her off that same night, and the next thing he knows, he's getting attacked by a bunch of drunks. They beat him up and ran away. Meanwhile, Shui has gone begging at Qing's door. She's inside but refuses to let him in. When she finally gets to the door, he's gone. Lu goes to confront Shui in the boys' locker room. She slaps him because she knows it was his goons that attacked her man. She expresses disappointment at Shui for this. Shui had no idea that the guy was attacked, but he's glad his brothers looked out for him. The IT guys and the medical students get into a fight. According to Shui, they fought all day but it was pointless. When they were exhausted, they all sprawled about and had moments of reflection. On his way to his room, Shui sees a resignation letter on the notice board. Hao is sulking in bed because Yen dropped out right before her GRE exams. Shui mentions the resignation letter was from Professor Bai and he infers that they must have eloped. This only saddens Ho the more because he's just experienced heartbreak even before he got to experience love. He swears he'll become a playboy moving forward. Ho and Shui start their internship at a teaching hospital. The gynecologist talks about male practitioners having access to female patients because this is the 21st century. The patient doesn't take well to a bunch of men streaming in with her legs spread. She takes off forgetting her shoes. Shui has just concluded surgery when he gets called back to the school to attend to an emergency. He gets there and meets a grieving fiancé with man's corpse. She passed on after battling ovarian cancer for 6 months. Doctors had opted to take out her womb, but she refused. Her final wish was for her body to be put in Shui's custody. Realizing that she was calling him to reveal she was sick, eats at him. He thought he was being loyal to Lu by steering clear from an ex, but look how that turned out. Man told her fiancé that Shui is a doctor. He's aware that she called him multiple times and blames Shui for never giving her a listening ear. Shui lays next to her and asks her to forgive him. He sees Qing and tells her the harrowing news. She's come back to him at a time when his world is falling apart. She comforts and promises him that he's not to blame. She drives him to a beach with the intention that they can both get away. They let loose and have a moment of intimacy on the beach sand. It's a new summer, and Qing admits while in Shui's arms something Man admitted to him before she left. Qing tells him he's the last person she's embraced and asks if he believes her. He affirms that he does. Shui dozes off, and when he wakes, Qing is gone. He searches the entire resort for her, but a waiter informs him she ordered him breakfast and left. He eats his breakfast angrily, thinking Qing is playing games he's not cut out for. Shui returns back to town with the intention of finding Qing. He goes looking for her at her office and her house, but she suddenly disappeared without a trace. 5 years later, the group reunites at Grandpa Hu's funeral. Xinyi is now a famous doctor married to a head nurse who's 8 years older. Haopu got in trouble for bribery at his place of work. He got fired and moved abroad where he cleaned up his act and opened a dental clinic. Huang Qi took a different route from medicine and is now a VP in politics. He's also married to Huan. Lu owns a restaurant near a school and is a mother and a wife. She married the IT guy. Shui quit practicing medicine. His breaking point was witnessing an ovarian cancer patient slowly give up the ghost. He goes into the room where Hu has been laid and talks to him. He feels he's let Hu down because he didn't become a famous writer. He's a publisher instead. Shui enters a taxi, and Mao, Qing's business partner, happens to be the driver. He reveals they were running the business without a license, got caught, and served their time in prison. He served 3 years, and she served 1. Now Shui understands why she disappeared on him. She'd told Mao that she'd only fallen for one man and cried at the thought of having to let him go. Shui is going about his day when he feels drawn towards a restaurant with ceiling-to-floor windows. It offers the view of a woman behind the glass with her face obscured by a book Shui wrote. He approaches the window, and the woman takes the book down to reveal she's Qing. They both stare at each other, both finally breaking into smiles.